ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is episode 51 of Those Muckrakers. I'm Pete.
And I'm Pat.
And damn, if there isn't a lot of news. So let me start you off with a little bit of, I don't know if it's schadenfreude I felt today. A little bit of happiness I got.
At the misfortune of others.
Some guy put, I guess he raises Venus flytrap plants.
Yeah.
And so he put
Is
them
his
near...
name Seymour?
See, I don't get... Is that a joke?
Yeah, feed me, Seymour. Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, God. Yeah. Sorry, I've blocked all musical theater out of my head because I'm a regular theater guy, and so I hate musical theater and musical theater people.
Musical theater will rise again.
Yeah, sure it will, and it'll sing and blah, blah, blah. So he's got these Venus flytraps, and he made a video. I guess he put them down near a yellow jacket nest.
No.
Which, if you guys don't know what yellow jackets are, they're wasps. And wasps, as you know, are nature's assholes. They don't provide honey. They don't have the decency to die when they sting you. They just sting the shit out of you.
Yeah, they don't have little barbs on their stingers, so when they sting you, they can pull it back out again and just sting you again and again.
I got stung by so many yellow jackets as a kid. This video made me happy. So he put it near, I guess, a yellow jacket nest, and he put a couple little drops of honey inside each one of the Venus flytrap's jaws, and then it was just
trying to get the flytrap to eat the bug? Or they're not going to be able to eat wasps.
Yeah, they are, and they did, and they ate a shit ton of... Yeah.
Really? I didn't know they could. Aren't the wasps strong enough just to get out?
No, they got eaten, man. And I watched this video for 3 minutes, and I just felt this terrible glee at these wasps being murdered by a plant. It felt good, but also disgusting because I'm like, yeah, fucking die.
Yep. Kill those wasps like they're musical theater.
And now I want to go out and just find wasp nest and just put the Venus flytraps underneath them, just covered in honey, and be like, yeah, get that honey, bitch.
Knowing you, I can see you bumping your head on the wasp nest on your way out, and so they just swarm your face. And you're just running up, the bees!
Yellow jackets were the only time the first time, not the only time, but the first time in my life that you ever as a young kid, especially as a young boy, that part of your brain that weighs risk and reward is not developed, and you just don't think about what you're doing.
Yes.
Me and my sister and the neighbor got into a yellow jacket nest and got stung up. My sister got stung up real bad, and so she's covered in wasps, and she's like, get them off me. And the neighbor picks up 2 bricks and hands one to me and is like, we could throw them at her and knock the wasp off. And I'm like, fuck yeah. And then as I cocked my arm back to throw a brick at my sister who's covered in wasps, I went,
not the best day of her life.
Wait a minute. My brain just grew. What are the brain images? What are those thoughts?
There in G-Ville, they say Peter's brain grew 3 sizes that day.
It did. Yeah. My judgment grew, and I go, maybe not. Let's try a better way to get the wasps off her. But for a minute there, man, I was just like, yeah, let's stone my sister who's covered in wasps.
I would say the water hose, maybe?
I think that's what we ultimately end up did. But, man, I was on fire for them bricks for, a good minute. I'm like, yeah. That'll do it.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So that was probably the happiest thing that happened to me today. Just watching these.
I thought you were about to
die.
say the happiest thing that ever happened to you as a kid. Yeah, about to stone my sister.
No, the happiest thing that ever happened to me as a kid was when I got to turn my sister in for damaging the family car.
It's always about your sister with the bees and the car.
Well, I was always the one in trouble, but one day for some reason she decided to write the alphabet on the hood of the car with a lead pipe.
Wonderful.
And I saw her do it, and it's not like she wouldn't have gotten discovered anyway, because when you walk out and find your car with just ABC scratched into the hood, you tend to notice, But I jauntily walked in, and I'm like, hey, Dad, you may want to go check out the family van. Check it out. Look at the hood. See what you think. And she got in trouble for it. Oh, yeah, that would have been great if I was like, what do you think? And he's just like, I'm going to beat your ass. Oh, it's all falling apart. Why didn't I throw those bricks?
Yeah, because the way I was seeing this going is your sister was done writing the alphabet and she leaves, and so you've pitched it to him as, look at this amazing thing on the hood of your car, and he goes and sees it, and he's like, Peter, you have some explaining to do.
I mean, I was wrongfully accused a lot as a kid. I remember in kindergarten, every Friday we got to use the snack and the soda machine, right? It was only once a week. And I'll never forget. I was so excited. I waited in line. I was trying to select my snack, and then I noticed kind of poking out from underneath, like the snack machine is in the edge of a bag. So I reached down and pick it up, and it is a bag of like cheesy poofs or cheese puffs, whatever, non-brand name, and they have been under there for like decades, right?
Right.
Like they're old and
Just
stale and covered
grimy,
in yeah. And I was like,
dusty,
ugh.
covered in yellow jackets.
Yeah, and the teacher comes up and she goes, "All right, Peter, it's your turn's up. You got to go." And I go, "I didn't get a snack." And she goes, "You have a snack right there. Now go on," and kind of like pushed me out of the line. And I was like, "These aren't mine. They're dusty." She wasn't listening to me, so I didn't get a snack. Because she thought that dusty bag of old cheese poofs was mine. She thought I'd gotten a snack, and I guess I was being greedy and getting a second one.
Something very similar happened to me also around
Well,
that age.
the worst part about that is I was crying, and then I ate the snack.
Oh no, gross.
Because I didn't have a snack. This is all I had. I'm just eating these, like, stale, gross...
Crying in the corner, eating like dead rats out of a bag.
Yeah, it's just it's so bad. It's not mine. Yeah.
I was in, God, it's probably first or second grade or something, and we're coming back in from PE or recess or one of those things where they have all the kids in a line outside, and we're in line for the water fountain, right? And you always wait an eternity in the water fountain line because every single kid takes so long with their turn, and you finally get up there and you're just dying of thirst. But the person ahead of me was just drinking and drinking and drinking for like a minute, and the girl behind me was like, "Teacher, teacher," and she was about to say that, that person's name, that they wouldn't go, right? Whoever it was, "Connie won't go," or I don't remember who it was. But then that kid, hearing the person behind me shouting, dipped out really, really fast, right? So then
Yeah.
I step forward and I go to drink, and she's like, Waldo won't go. It's him. He won't go. Because she's already got the teacher's attention at this point, right? She's
Yeah.
not smart enough to be like, never mind, problem solved. No, she's like, oh, well, I have your attention. He won't go. And then I wasn't allowed to drink. I was told to get out of line, and I couldn't have my sip of water.
Dude, I now understand now why I liked movies about like POWs and like the Vietnam War and like Rambo 2 when I was a kid. Because so much of
Dusty Cheetos is your Vietnam.
So much of our upbringing was just like us being tortured and people just yelling at us to like, you can't have water, or like you can't sleep, or like you have to eat this bag of rats. Like now I'm like, I get it, because.
And then in our late teens, we slept under a pool table with one blanket between 9 guys.
Yeah, well, they used to take us out. I remember this specifically in summer school, like daycare. There was a playground, but the daycare workers were like too lazy to just sit outside and like watch us. They didn't want to be outside. So they would take us outside to the playground, but they wouldn't let us play. They would walk us in a line, like a POW line, around the playground over and over again to get our energy out.
Wonderful.
One kid had to go to the bathroom so bad they wouldn't let him get out of line and stop walking. And I never forget this. He shit his pants and it rolled down his leg.
Oh my God, I have 2 stories now. First of all, in 8th grade, there was a kid who shit his pants and it rolled down his leg. That's the entire story, right? Like, he had to poop. He didn't raise his hand to ask to go to the bathroom. He just sat in his chair till he shit himself. Then he got up and bolted out of the class with shit falling out of his leg, or out of his pants leg the whole time, right? I still remember his name too. I guess I could say his first name.
No, don't say his name. Don't do that to that poor guy.
Right, but that was interesting. But the other thing I was going to say is that Wesley and I used to burn our energy out the same way, just walking in a circle, because while everyone else was playing sports, because we went to first through our number one fan, for any listeners out there who's not Wesley, which is nobody, I guess, so I'm just saying this rhetorically. Wesley and I went to school together from first through 12th grade, but first through 8th grade we had PE together. And what we would do is, instead of participating with all the other kids, we would just go do whatever. And so what would happen whenever they had like baseball outside is the coach, tired of trying to make us participate, would just tell us to go walk around the baseball field the whole time. So we would do that, and we were very happy to do it. Listen, we didn't have to do whatever everyone else was doing.
I was waiting for this to end with like, so we would shit our pants anytime the coach told us to do anything.
Kick shit at him.
He would leave us alone. But I remember like they kept us in a line, and this kid's like, I gotta go. And they're like, you'll stay in line or you'll die. Like, it was very much like a death march. And I'm like, as an adult, I go, wouldn't it have been easier to just let the kids play on the playground for like an hour and just like sit there and read a book, you know?
Yeah.
Like, come
Yeah,
on,
or
dude.
just, I mean, Jesus, I do miss recess. I miss first through sixth grade recess. No, fifth. First through fifth, because sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, we just had to go to the gym. And at that point, me and Wesley would just stand around and watch people play basketball in there. It was really boring.
Yeah, that was our
Though,
whole
though
PE
we
from
we
like,
had this one kid that would we would give him basketballs and tell him to hit people in the head with them, and he would do it as long as we provided him the basketball.
that's pretty great. I don't understand what it was about phys ed with for us growing up, like, because my mom and like her generation, dude, they had badass phys ed. Like, they were learning different shit. Like, she told me they got to do archery in PE one time.
When I went to college, one of the perks was that they had an archery class until I got there and found out they had discontinued the archery class like 10 years ago, and they just hadn't taken it off the syllabus yet. Or not
That's lame.
syllabus, the
Well, I mean,
whatever,
I
the list
understand.
of classes yet.
I understand why they don't have archery anymore. 'Cause she told me like someone didn't listen to the instructor and shot him in the neck. I guess that's why that went away. But yeah, all we did was play
Hey,
basketball, and
look, you just gotta explain it to the teachers. Like, look, bow and arrows don't shoot people. Kids shoot people. If they hadn't shot you with that bow and arrow, they would have shot you through the neck with a rock or something. So let's keep having archery
listen
because
to it.
the bows can't hurt people. It's the people that do it. So let's not blame the bow. Let's just keep having archery. And if people shoot each other accidentally, they would have done that anyway with a paperclip or something.
Listen, a determined kid will find a way to hurt a PE instructor. Okay.
Exactly.
But yeah, that would have like, cause yeah, we did the same thing. Like we would, they
Or
would play
being facetious for anyone that picked up on the gun rhetoric.
we'd go into the gym, and you still got half credit if you didn't dress out, and then it would just be like people playing basketball and us just sitting in the stands until the period was over, and that was phys ed.
It was only in high school that they made us change clothes for PE, and that was always so weird going into the locker room and having to like strip down around everyone else.
I mean,
Those were bizarre times.
I mean, I guess like I've done it as an adult, and like it's just the only thing I really dislike is when I go to the YMCA. It's like
They just opened one of those locally. I've been meaning
you
to go buy it.
you can be naked while you're changing. That's fine. You can be naked in the steam room in the sauna, but you don't have to. You can just put on a towel and like not be weird. The last time I was in there, I go in the steam room and I open the door and see the biggest naked ass I've ever seen. And I was like, nope, I don't know why he's naked. Just put a towel on, dude. So then I go in the
It's the
sauna.
YMCA. Guys go there to pick up other guys.
I think that was a thing in the 60s. This guy wasn't picking up anybody. He was just like an old fat man. And
From the
it's
60s.
it's
He was remembering fond times.
It's the old dudes. I go in the sauna and I'm sitting there. My old dude comes in, buck ass naked, spends about 10 minutes rooting around trying to get his towel situated, and sits down for about a minute and then leaves. And I was like, so you took 10 minutes to sit down naked and make me uncomfortable, and then just leave.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, nudity's whatever. It's just like in a public space where other people are not naked. Maybe just drape a towel over that thing. That's all I'm saying. Like, come on, man.
Yep.
So let's get to
So-
the news, because we have tons of notes today.
The fuck is news? Oh, right, the thing we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So if people aren't aware, we don't have 1 week of news to cover. We have 2 weeks of news to cover. So there's no dilly dallying in this episode. We're not going to mess around. We're not going to do bants. We're just going to hop straight into the news.
We don't dilly. We don't dally. Well, I wanna start with something that I think is important because of what the precedent it sets for the world.
Go ahead.
Because I'm pretty sure I have this on your notes. So they've been having huge problems with the what do you call it? The elections in I believe it is Zimbabwe.
Right.
So people are protesting fuel prices. The government is like shooting people in the streets. 5 people were killed in widespread protest. So the reason I'm bringing this up, you know, this is sort of classic for countries like Zimbabwe. Is people protesting, they deploy the military and just fire on unarmed people, right?
Right.
So the big thing that they did that like terrifies me, and I'm so worried that like the president or someone else is going to see it. Like Mitch McConnell's going to see it and go, "Oh man, how do you do that? Let me write that down." They shut down social media and the internet so that demonstrators couldn't talk to each other.
Yeah, I mean, Trump can do that if he declares martial law, which he's very close to doing just to try and get his wall, which he wants to steal the money from
Well,
California and
if he was going
Texas,
to do
by
it, I
the
think he
way.
would have done it. He's already backed down from that. I think it's too late. He always waits too
I
late. But
mean, he backed down from the government shutdown 2 years running before he finally just did it this year, just to, I guess, try to fuck over the Democrats now that they come to power, let their start of power be a month-long shutdown, or who knows how long he's going to keep it going.
I think
But
he's going to
anyway,
keep. I think he's going to try to keep it going until Congress reopens the government or he gets impeached.
like
Um,
Congress can reopen it. They can just override his veto with enough votes, and they have the votes because it passed. It passed unanimously. Nobody voted against it the first time they pushed the bill through before Christmas.
but my point is, when I see anybody shutting down the internet, and what scares me is to do that, internet providers have to be complicit. Like a country can't just go shut down your internet. So like I
Yeah.
already don't like what internet providers are doing and the way they're cozying up to dictators and they're helping them out with like, the facial recognition stuff. Did you see that Facebook 10-year challenge?
I've heard of the 10-year challenge, but I don't know anything about it. Like I haven't looked into it.
You find like you find a 10-year-old photo of you and then the most current photo of you and then you put them up on Facebook next to each other and be like, look how much I've aged. Well, people are arguing that
Huh.
basically you're helping Facebook sell facial recognition software and keep a facial recognition database. Which they already sell your stuff anyway. When someone goes, they already have your pictures, they could do it anyway. I'm like, they could, but think about how much it helps you if everybody just puts up an old picture and a new picture for an image database.
I mean, until the 2016 election, I would have said I don't care if they take all the data they want, but now I realize how destructive it can be to a democracy. Was once Russia had their hands on all that data, they were
Yeah.
able to just surgically, cut through all the different districts to get Trump the exact electoral college votes he needed
Yep.
by depressing the vote and pretending like they're Bernie supporters saying, don't vote for Hillary, goes Bernie, Bernie, Bernie.
Well, the
And
worst
they're
part,
able to push down the votes just enough in just the right districts that even though Trump lost by like 5 million votes, he still won with the electoral college.
well, the worst part about facial recognition software is one of the best ways to combat it is to dress like a juggalo. You know those people that follow the Insane Clown Posse with the weird face makeup?
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently juggalo makeup confuses facial recognition software. And I go, God, the fucking dystopian futures where we're all running around with juggalo makeup on.
Nice.
God damn it.
I mean,
yeah, so
I look forward to it personally, but
so that was my news from Zimbabwe. Because anytime someone shuts down the internet during protests, I get a little bit worried.
so do we want to start with the oldest news or the most recent news?
Start with the oldest stuff. Let's work our way forward.
Oh my lord. Well, just one quick note before we work our way forward. This is where the week ended up. Michael Cohen described paying off a technology company with with one single boxing glove in a bag, right? Just one boxing glove in a bag in exchange for them rigging some polls for Trump's favor. So whenever
Wait,
Trump's like, "Oh, the polls are rigged," yeah, he's the one that rigged them.
I don't understand. What do you mean, like a boxing glove?
A boxing glove. He paid them with a boxing glove
Why would they take that as payment?
because Trump doesn't pay people, and that's what he offered them. I don't know why they accepted it. I'd like to hear their side of the story.
Okay, I thought of maybe a boxing glove.
No, he promised them $50,000. He gave them 16,000 and a boxing glove.
Okay, so there was money involved. I was
Little
wondering
bit.
I was wondering if a boxing glove was like a weird term for like, yeah, you paid him with an 8 ball. What's an 8 ball? It's cocaine. I was
No,
like,
it's a literal boxing glove. It's so weird, and that's where this week ended up. And this is one of the most damning things against Trump yet, because this should excavate him being impeached and removed from office because he was rigging the election actively and sending Cohen out to lie for him and to rig things for him. But anyway, this week started. Ah, my God! Not this week, but 2 weeks ago. The week of our 50th episode, we didn't really cover the news that week. So going back 2 weeks, we have Bush and Obama approved news when Trump said that Bush and Obama was on his side with saying, yeah, a wall should definitely be built. Do you
Well,
remember that? That feels like a million years ago.
I remember, well, like all the ex-presidents he said supported him came out and said no. That's one of the narratives that they keep pushing is like, oh, well, Democrats wanted a border wall until Trump wanted. No, look, everyone's saying that, yeah, you have to have border security. It's important to know who's coming in. The process should be streamlined. There should be a process for it. But nobody is saying we should build a giant fucking wall because it's impractical. Like and there's
about
this,
half the distance is covered by the Rio Grande anyway. So
and there's this whole idea that people keep saying where like they go, it's just common sense. Walls keep people out, and it's like, yeah, but there was a really great technology article I think I sent you about it's not too far in the future before we start using drones to fly people places.
yeah, I'm
and
so looking forward to that.
So here's the problem with the
We're
wall.
like 5 years away from being able. The what's his name? The Hobgoblin and the Green Goblin from Spider-Man. How he rides around on a flying disc. Basically, we're gonna have that soon. Huh? Except maybe it's gonna be like on top of you, holding you up instead of you standing on it. But either way,
well, the thing
that's like we're like 5 years away from that. And then we'll get you, Spider-Man!
Well, the thing about it is, like, so the problem with the wall, too, that, like, it doesn't matter who wanted it, but, like, no one ever said we're going to build a magnificent wall. The problem is it's going to take years to even get going. They haven't even done the environmental impact studies and all that stuff. By the time
a lot of those studies have been blocked, but and what we have gotten says it would be absolutely devastating to the environment.
In devastating the environment, devastating the economy, a total waste of money. The reason that he's pushing
it's not going to help
it,
anyone.
Right. The reason he's pushing for it is A, it's symbolic. B, he's got his hands in all kinds of dirty construction kickbacks. He stands to make a shit ton of money off a huge construction project like that.
Yeah. Did you notice he started hanging out with steel sellers, steel manufacturers? Whenever he's like, well, maybe we should, instead of making it out of concrete, make it out of steel. I never said concrete. And it's like, roll clip 212. And Trump's all like, we're going to make it out of concrete. Ooh.
Well, cartels are already flying drugs into the country with drones because that's the way things are going now. Like, drones are cheap, they're disposable. Like, it's a lot easier if you want to, like, smuggle stuff in, fly it in a drone.
It's just funny how Hucka Sanders went on the news to say, 4,000 people have been picked up or arrested coming in over the Mexican border that were suspected terrorists, when the number was A, actually 6, and B, they were all picked up at airports, not at the border.
Right.
So she was just completely bullshitting us.
My whole thing is there was a really great, I believe it was This American Life on immigration back in like 96. And it's true, like, you have to control the flow of immigration, but so you need to fix and streamline the system. Like, that's my whole argument.
And also, if anyone's not aware, 75% of the undocumented workers in America came in legally with the visa program and then just outstayed their visa. They just didn't leave when their time was up. And so the wall's not going to stop them.
So my whole thing is we need immigrant labor. We do need it, but we need to be able to control it.
We definitely do. It would crush the southern economy if we didn't have it.
But, like, we need to be able to control the flow of it. And, yes, we need to know who's here. So, like, you fix the visa program.
Well, let's compromise, right? We'll document workers better on the left if the right will let us also have a registry of who owns what guns.
Yeah, we need to know who's coming in, but yeah, we don't.
It's called compromise.
Yeah,
it's about safety. It's like, oh, gun owners aren't gonna. Right, but I mean, if we had a bucket of Skittles, right? If we had a bucket of Skittles, these 10,000 Skittles represent 10,000 gun owners. If just one of them was poison, would you have a handful? I'm just saying, every single argument against immigrants also works for gun owners, except it's true for gun owners, not true for immigrants.
Well, so the other thing is, too, that there's a whole point about, like, illegal immigration hurts illegal immigrants, and it also hurts American workers, right?
Right.
Because those jobs that, like, people are paying illegal immigrants to do, they're not paying them a fair wage and giving them decent working conditions. You're also not to go the we took our jobs route, but there are jobs that Americans would take if you couldn't hire a group of immigrants for, like a quarter of the cost because nobody's paying attention to those people. So if those people had the ability to go to the government and go, hey, this person's not paying minimum wage, or they're not, the working conditions are unsafe, that would fix that, right?
Yep.
But we still need people. I read a really great article the other day about how it's not unskilled labor. And they were talking about, I can't remember if it was apple pickers or what it was. They climb up a tree on a ladder, right?
Right.
They pick all the fruit on that branch, fill the bucket, or if they don't fill the bucket, they run out of fruit on that branch. So what they do is they then do a pull up to the next branch to keep picking fruit, and then while hanging from that branch, they grab the ladder with their feet and hop it over to the next spot to keep picking. And they go, "You think that's unskilled? You think you could figure that out?" And they used as an example, which was brilliant, the price of slaves in the United States during the 1800s.
Right.
Slaves that had been enslaved for, I think, 2 or 3 years, their value went sky high because, like, they were now considered skilled workers. Because none of that work, whether it be like onion picking or like cotton picking or like, the fruit industry, any of that stuff, none of that stuff is like unskilled. Like, that takes a lot of skill and effort to be able to do well.
Yeah, that sounds like it. Jesus Christ, I didn't even know it was that hard to pick apples. I thought it was like in a quest tree. You just kick the tree and all the apples fall out of it into your bucket.
The problem is, like, we still don't have, there's a lot of agriculture is done by hand because, like, machines just can't do it. They'll mash or ruin the crops. Like,
yeah.
It's human labor. So we need that. But yeah, the problem with immigration, as much as I love the idea of just dissolving the border, I'm more in favor. I know realistically, with the way the world is, you can't just go, all right, everybody come in or get out, do what you're doing. I think you do need to, like, have an idea who's here, but that way you have to fix the process. Like, there should be border security, but you should be letting people in, like, giving them amnesty, giving their day in court. Let the courts decide who has a right to stay and who doesn't. That's the whole point of the courts.
Yep.
But in this news thing, what they said, the problem is, if you don't do something about immigration, the anger turns to xenophobia and people begin to scapegoat immigrants for everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like during World War II with the Jews were scapegoated for everything. They're the problem, or they are the root of all of Germany's problems. Exterminate the Jews! Which, by the way, they didn't start with exterminating them. They started with caging them. They started with all these other plans first, right? Just like we're doing with immigrants. We're caging them right now and putting them in internment camps,
And because we're not fixing the immigration process,
eventually we get to extermination whenever everything else becomes too costly.
Yeah.
And that's when other countries have to wage war on us and breach our soil to stop us from committing, horrendous crimes.
And in the words of
and then we're on the wrong side of World War III.
Well, so someone brought up a point too. They go, why is he stuck on a wall? Why doesn't he just put money in to say we're going to build a new technological Trump's drone wall? You know what I mean?
Because he's stupid.
I think everybody would get behind that, like pour money into new technology. But in the words of Forrest Gump on immigration, that's all I have to say about that.
Yep. So, Jesus, God, it wasn't the State of the Union address. What was it? The very first.
There will be no State of the Union address.
Before we get to that. Trump had a prime time address a week and a half ago now.
Oh God, I remember that. So I watched it. All right. So here's my thing going into it. I just want to lay this out. Trump gave this big, he's in the Oval Office, and it's like, usually when the president comes on, it's a pretty important thing, right? And you're like, all right, what's going to happen? I thought he was going to seize ultimate power. I thought he was going to be like, I thought he was like, here it is, man. He's declaring a national emergency. He's dissolving Congress, suspending habeas corpus. Here we go, buddy. Buckle up. And what did he do?
Yep.
He just gave a bunch of fake facts and figures about why we needed the wall, and no one gave a shit anyway. And then at the end of it, what I loved is Pelosi and Schumer did an address after his address, so he didn't get to get the last word, and basically rebuffed him, and everyone was like, well, nobody said shit. Everyone just said the things that they were going to say anyway. Yeah. Nobody's minds were changed. All our time was wasted.
Yeah, there was a poll done afterwards, and when asked, even Fox News was like, did his speech change your mind? The number of people whose Trump speech changed their mind in favor of the wall was 2%.
Yeah.
So probably more people changed their mind about it, because everyone really is turning against him because of the government shutdown, which is hurting a lot. It's hurting millions of Americans. He is actively hurting millions of Americans, and this isn't just people in Puerto Rico anymore. This is mainland Americans
Main Street.
in particular.
Right. This is when it comes to Main Street, then it becomes a big deal.
Right, and this is going to be a big deal because people are missing one or more paychecks already because it's been shut
So
down for what, 28 days? This is the longest
yeah.
shutdown in history,
Let's
in
play the
American history.
let's play the guessing game. All right, so let's do the whole Price is Right thing. How many paychecks do you think they're going to miss before Trump is impeached or they reopen the government? I
Pe-
guess.
People that are paid twice a month, once a month, or
Well,
what's the frequency of paychecks?
I'm assuming that if it's anything like the Department of Education, that you're paid bi-monthly, so like twice a month.
Okay, so that's most people have missed 2 paychecks now. I think. Oh my gosh. Because next month Trump is scheduled to meet with his good friend Kim Jong Un again, so he's probably going to want to reopen the government before then. Because he already told Nancy Pelosi that she's not allowed to leave the country.
So, do you think
I know.
they'll?
I just discussed like several future things that we're about to talk about.
I think. Do you think that they will miss 3 paychecks?
So just one more paycheck and then the government's reopened.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for broke here. I think they're gonna miss 6 or more.
You think they're going to miss 6 or more?
Yes, I feel like Trump is going to really dig his heels in here, and that it's not going to break until the impeachment begins, or let's say when Mueller drops his all his report in probably March.
You think it'll go all the way through February into March?
Yes, I think it's going to be all of February into March, and then that's going to drop. And then because we need to focus on the impeachment, McConnell's going to step forward, be all like, "I'm going to take the reins here," and he's going to do what he could have done all along and just push a spending bill through.
Just to add in, by the way, so far I think twice now the House has passed a bill to reopen the government, and there's a weird rule in the Senate that any senator can block something from coming to the floor for a vote.
Right.
And both times Mitch McConnell has blocked the House's bill coming. So if the Senate can't vote on it, we stay in a deadlock. So because McConnell keeps basically blocking it from even coming to a vote because he knows it would pass, the government remains shut down. So McConnell is actually single-handedly responsible for...
While completely staying out of the spotlight.
Yeah.
That motherfucking turtle. Okay, so... Jesus,
so you say six paychecks? I'm going to guess they get to paycheck 3 and somebody burns down the White House again.
Yeah. You know, I would kind of like that. I would like the White House to burn, but no one's in it at the time, right? That's very possible because Trump's probably going to be at the McDonald's drive-thru ordering another 1,000 hamburgers.
You know he doesn't go to the drive-thru. He sends Chris Christie.
That only happened once, but that was an amazing photo op. Okay,
Well,
I need to like...
I don't know, man. Maybe I got too much redneck in me, but like Christie and what's the weasel from Texas? His name who grew a beard now to look more manly.
You mean, oh, fuck.
Ted Cruz.
Yeah, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz!
Listen, man. I'm kind of like, when I get my dander up, you know, it's hard for me to put it down. If I had gone toe-to-toe with a man who didn't just talk about me, who was just like, yeah, well, and in a public forum was like, your wife is ugly, or was like, you need to lose some weight, go get me McDonald's. I'd spend every time they put a mic in front of me, I'd be like, how about this fucking tiny dick motherfucker right here? I would like, and then they like, months later, they interview me again, and I'd be like, I'm gonna shove my fucking foot so far up his ass, and then like, they cut the interview, and every time they put me back in front of a mic, I would talk about what a piece of shit he was.
Fun fact, Chris Christie's new book just came out, and it basically does exactly that. He does nothing but talk shit about the Trump administration and how awful it's been for America.
That would be all I would do. I would be on every interview show that would have me public access, Fox, anything, and they'd have to cut my mic because I'd just be like, this piece of shit. Anytime he wants to go toe to toe, I'm right here. Come get me. Like, just I don't understand this sniveling. Just like this guy shit on you, and you're like, your shit tastes good, Mr. President.
So I wanted to go back to the primetime address because I wasn't able to note what I think is the greatest fun fact of all.
What's that?
And that's that when a president does a primetime address, networks are not allowed to air ads. So they can't make money during prime time. So he is dicking them out of a lot of cash. But the fun fact comes in that Trump was holding a fundraiser off of that primetime speech. So he was making money while costing other people money. And that really is just him through and through, isn't it?
Is he losing his mojo? Do you think he's losing his luster?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he looks so tired. Every time you see him, his eyes are like barely open. He's just like, oh, nah, sad. But at the
Um,
same time, we just got what looked like a very energetic picture of him as he stood over this huge spread of like Wendy's burgers and
that
McDonald's and
was
everything else.
that was like so again like
And he
normally I don't give
misspelled
it
hamburgers as hamburgers, by the way, so that's fun.
normally I don't
Anyone
give a
who
shit
didn't
about
know.
like the dignity of the office, but like you invite a football team. This is a once in a lifetime chance for them to come to the White House and be treated. And he bought them fast food. He just like bought them a ton of fast food. And someone
And he
says,
said on camera, it's because it's all of my favorite foods and their favorite foods and your favorite foods. He like slipped up and said, no, I'm just doing it for me. Oh, and you and all of you.
so I read an article. I don't know if I agree with it. They said the reason that Trump provided that for them is because to them they're lesser people, you know, so common people or peasants to him. This kind of food you serve them.
I don't agree with that.
No, I think that's giving him way too much like credit, you know.
I swear, I think he really did think he was doing something nice for
Right.
them.
He's basically remember he's
Because
Richie.
those are his favorite foods, and
Yeah.
so he projects all the time, so he assumes that people like what he likes.
He's Richie Rich without a. Well, he's a kid from Blank Check without like a moral lesson at the end.
Right. He
If
just
Richie Rich
keeps-
invited you to the White House, like if a kid became president and invited you to the White House, he would probably buy you all his favorite fast food.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. He probably
think
thought
that-
that he was doing something nice here.
Yeah, I think that gets into those people that are like, he's playing four-dimensional chess. You don't know where he's going to come from. I go, no. Think about the mind of a 13-year-old spoiled rich kid that became president, and I think you can figure out most of his motivations.
Yeah.
Unlike-
I mean, if you make fun of him, he'll get super pissed and be like, yeah, me.
And people were talking a lot of shit about it. The only thing I liked was someone put up a picture and they go, this is what happens when a time traveler comes back to our time. He sees his picture and goes, oh, I fucked something up. And it's just Trump standing in the White House with all this fast food.
Yep.
I didn't think it was that big a deal. I mean, it's built. It's kind of beneath the dignity of like the president to be serving people. Like this is the White House. Treat these kids. You know what I mean? Like get them some steaks or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
Yes,
lobster.
there's a Scro pointed out that there's an amazing steak place like 1 block from the White House. They sell $60 steaks there, and they're the best steaks you can possibly find in America, according to some. Everyone that is a senator or congressperson in general goes by that place at least once a month. It's a really, really popular place. That would be an amazing thing for him to order because they're still open. They still make steaks. He could order steaks for all these kids.
Well, my whole thing is too. At the end of the day, I don't give a shit about a football team going to the White House. Like, it's just one of those things. And I do agree. There is a little bit of like people.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's
Yeah,
just
people-
a weird thing that happened.
So that thing was kind of like when they went crazy over Obama wearing a tan suit.
Yeah, I mean, but this,
I think it's the equivalent because we have to be careful. You got to remember, like, Trump's one of those people that's like it's easy to hate everything about him, but like if Obama had served a bunch of fast food, I'd have been like, well, that's weird, but all right, like, you know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, I always hate to admit it, but my taste in food is basically identical to Trump's. All of his favorite foods are my favorite foods.
Wait, do you order steak like well done with ketchup?
Yes, that's my favorite way to eat steak. I
Fucking-
love it, like basically a little burnt to the point in which it has no flavor left in it, and then
Yeah.
smothered in ketchup.
You're a fucking monster. And I will fight you. But yeah, that was one of the things that happened, and it was like funny, haha, but it was also just like, guys, you got to select your outrage to the things that matter. Who gives a shit about this? You know what I mean? Yeah, he misspells everything on Twitter.
He misspelled country. How can you run a country if you don't even know how to spell it?
The problem is he's tweeting so fast, he's not spell check. You know what I mean? Like he's not spell checking.
People noticed like that the way he wrote country autocorrects back to country correctly. He spells so badly that his autocorrect just gave up.
Yeah, and I think he thinks it's one of the things that
paid enough for this shit.
I think it's one of the things that makes him endearing because you know, like I think some of his base are like, yeah, man, I like hamburgers too.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you gotta be careful, like, because that's why I hate it when like they just report forever on like minor shit. And I go, there's more important things. Like they pointed out, they went on forever about the congresswoman from Michigan who called him a motherfucker, but they didn't report on the guy who was, oh, I can't remember his name, but he was in the Congress or the Senate. But he did this interview. He goes, oh, hey guys, so what's wrong with the word white nationalism and
He's in the House.
in the House and white supremacy? I don't understand what's wrong with it. And so the woman saying motherfucker got more coverage than that, and that's the shit we should be paying attention to. Some guys, he's basically sounding out like, what's wrong with the idea of white supremacy?
Yeah, Steve King's his name. Steve King has actually been reprimanded by the Republicans. Is the weird part, is that there was actual accountability for what he did, and he has been removed, or he's had all of his committee rights stricken from him. He has absolutely no power as a sitting congressperson anymore except for a vote. He still gets to vote because they can't take that from him, but basically they stripped all of his other powers from him and asked him to stand down. He hasn't, of course. He's trying to say, oh no, blah, blah, blah. But
he's the kind of guy. I saw this great tweet the other day that said
he's the same racist piece of shit that said, they're coming over here with calves the size of melons and they're giant bags of drugs. He's the one that said, well, you got to look at what all the other countries have done. It's always white people that do all the best stuff in history. No other race has done anything good during the Macy's Day Parade.
And that's what I love, because someone had this great tweet that goes, yeah, y'all talking a lot of shit about like how lazy minorities are.
That's how insanely...
Who the fuck enslaved an entire another race to do all the hard work y'all didn't want to do? And I go, yep, you're right. Yeah. You're right, yeah.
Yeah, that's, Steve King is like super fucking racist, and he has been for a long time.
Yeah, that's what should be getting coverage. Who gives a fuck about hamburgers? This dude is literally sounding out like Nazi ideology and going, hey man, y'all like this? This is a new thing I'm trying. Y'all in? What you think?
It was, Trevor Noah had a great little segment on him whenever he was like, what have other countries done? And Trevor Noah's like, I don't know. Well, except for like the paper that you're holding right there was invented by the Chinese, and those numbers behind you, that was I forgot who invented numbers.
Arabic numerals.
Yeah, and the Christianity that you also expressed having a love for, that was the Middle Easterns invented that.
Yeah, so this is crazy. The fucking, I believe, and God, if we ever have any fans, are going to crucify me for this. It was either
it's fine. Only Wesley's listening at this point.
It was either in India.
Hey Wesley, how are you today?
It was either in India or the Middle East. They invented zero.
Yeah, something like that. Because zero didn't exist. The concept of nothing didn't exist for such a long time that there's not even really a Latin base for it, and that's why, or there was I'm messing this up. The Latin base for it became. Never mind. I don't remember how that goes exactly. I just remember that the same Latin base became two different words in Spanish and English. Right. That Blanca, which sounds like black, means white in Spanish, and it means nothing. And in America, it means, it became black, which means black, which is, anyways, from the root word that means nothing.
Right,
God,
but
that's hard to remember. So
it's such an amazing fucking concept to have a representation for nothing in numbers, because it allows you to do so much with numbers that you couldn't do before you had it. So. Yeah.
Sorry.
What did
sorry, I was just gonna say. Sorry. Let me try again. Let me try it again to explain. The concept of nothingness varies from culture to culture. Like in America, blackness is nothingness. In Spanish, whiteness is nothingness. Blanca means white in Spanish. Black means black in English. Right. Ergo, we had two different concepts of nothing, but it came from the same root Latin word as nothing, and that's, I guess, all I was trying to say before.
Also,
which didn't have that much to do with what you said.
A ton of like the other thing is too, a ton of like, if you want to be a white, like ethnocentric white culture, did all this and that. Well, guess what, buddy? You know who saved a whole bunch of like white culture for us when we were busy in the Middle Ages burning our own shit? The Arabs.
Yeah, the Arabs.
They had a bunch of like early Western thought and philosophy that had been translated into Arabic that got lost when the Roman Empire fell and everything, and then was translated back.
They did nothing but advance in their own civilization, while white people were stuck in the Dark Ages, too illiterate to record history for like 1,000 years.
Well, I like
from the year 500 to 1500.
There was some advances, but ultimately, white men didn't build everything. And in fact, if you want to talk about the United States, fucking the slaves and the poor built everything. The Chinese built the fucking railroads. Slaves built everything. Try to take credit, but not really. It doesn't really hold up. But yeah, fuck Steve King. Like that guy needs a spotlight shown on him.
Yes, that's the point that we're trying to make here. Is speaking now. Speaking of Jesus, have we? Speaking of Trump's base, by which I mean speaking of people that are fleeing from him, more rats are fleeing a sinking ship as hot on the heels of Defense Secretary Mattis resigning and Brett McGurk, who was leading the fight against ISIS, him resigning. We had Pentagon spokeswoman Dana White resign week before last, and then Kevin Sweeney, the Department of Defense Chief of Staff, also resign. Nobody wants to work for this unhinged criminal president.
Well, that brings us up to the...
He was saying the fake news is saying there's so much chaos at the White House. No, there's not. In fact, I'm the only one here right now.
Well, that's...
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Like,
he's the only fucking person there. Everyone else has left.
that brings us to like this whole idea. So like we're pulling out of Syria because ISIS is defeated, but then ISIS is not defeated. And
We're not pulling out. What's
Yeah.
his face? The most recent defense secretary guy said we're actually not going to do that.
Yeah, I told you that we wouldn't. Like, I mean, we really need to like.
So
get
Trump
out
lost Mattis for no reason.
Yeah, we need to get out of Iraq. We need to get like there was a memo that I've seen before that someone pulled up again about like how during the first Gulf War, going in and toppling Saddam was a bad idea because we would be stuck in a quagmire with no exit situation, and that's why we didn't go all the way in and get rid of Saddam. And the person that wrote that memo was Dick fucking Cheney.
Merry Christmas.
And so now we are stuck in a Middle East quagmire that we have no idea how to get out of besides just fucking leaving.
Speaking of those wars, by which I mean speaking of scams, do you remember the GoFundMe for the wall?
Yeah, that dude was a scammer and had to give all the money back, right?
No, he's keeping it.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, it's been discovered that he has had other scams in the past, but upon discovering that, he had to close it down, but he's keeping all the money. He's just grabbing and running with it.
I didn't think you could do that. I thought GoFundMe, if you didn't reach your funding goal, or if it was...
No, they still collect it if you don't reach the goal.
Dude, why didn't we start a GoFundMe for the wall? We could have been fucking rich.
That would be amazing.
I'm gonna start some kind of like Trump GoFundMe thing. I don't know what it is yet. I'm gonna start it, and then I'm just gonna fucking, when they shut it down, I'm gonna keep all the money.
Yep.
Because look, if anybody's gonna hurt people that Trump is hurting, I'd at least like to get in on some of that action because maybe I can help some people, and also pay my bills.
Okay. So they are. Like I mentioned earlier, Trump is still floating the idea of declaring a state of emergency, which would give him the power to build his walls, because what he is inquiring about is something that furthers the idea that Trump is not everyone's president, but rather president only to the deplorables.
I don't think he'll do it.
They're trying to divert disaster relief funds from Puerto Rico and California to be used on the border wall.
The thing is, I think the problem is they've told him, and I think he's going to back down. If he tries to go the emergency route and subvert funds that have already been like set up for other stuff, I think that he's going to get tied up in court forever. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I don't think he would. I think if he was going to declare a national emergency, he would have done it. But I think they've talked him down from it because he is fundamentally a coward. And again, our biggest saving grace is he's too weak to seize the reins of ultimate power. He's had chances. He could have done a lot more during the when he controlled the House and the Senate, and he didn't. And now it's turning, and I don't think he'll declare a national emergency. I highly doubt it.
Speaking of which, I have some Manchurian Candidate news.
Oh, God, what's going on now?
It turns out that way back when Trump fired Comey, the FBI did open a secret investigation into whether or not Trump was working for Russia accidentally or deliberately.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And nothing has ever emerged publicly from that, because 1 week after they opened the investigation, Mueller was seated, and so they handed everything off to him to take care of.
Well,
So we don't know where it's going from there, but it opened and it hasn't officially closed. It's still ongoing.
Well, everybody that, like, all the interviews from, like, any of the CIA people I've seen are, like, 100% he's either compromised by a foreign power or he is directly working for a foreign power.
And to further that idea, he's had 6 private face-to-face meetings with Vladimir Putin since he became president, and there are no American notes about any of those meetings anywhere. Only the Russians have notes.
Because he told the translator to, like, get rid of the notes, whatever. And then there was a story about him eating some of the notes, too?
That's a separate story. What's her face? Omarosa said that he eats notes sometimes. He eats paper.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, so that's really weird that a president is meeting with another foreign power and tells a translator to like give him the notes or whatever. That's shady as fuck.
Yeah, it is. That just furthers the idea that he is Putin's puppet, like I've been calling him since summer of 2016.
Well, if he was Putin's puppet, he's doing everything right to basically like, like
Right.
Russia's
So,
biggest adversaries besides China were like, the Western European Alliance, NATO, and America, and so he's
like
done
here,
huh?
I was just gonna say, here's a fun game to play. Imagine for a second, what if 100% Trump was Putin's puppet, right? So this is hypothetically speaking. If he was Putin's puppet, what would he be doing differently than anything he's doing right now?
Exactly. That's what I was saying. Like, if you were a Russian agent or whatever, so in any way working for the betterment of Russia, and you became president, everything he's done has done nothing but be detrimental to the United States. Shutting down the government, talking about disbanding NATO, like alienating any of our allies. Yeah, man, like 100%. Like he couldn't do a better job if he was trying, which he very well may be. It's terrifying. Also, we haven't really talked a lot about this, and we'll probably do more on another podcast. Have you been listening to the news that comes out of Brazil?
So, ladies and gentlemen out there in Radio Land, it was at this point in the podcast that we had some technical difficulties with Skype. We fought with it for a bit, but ultimately decided to say screw it and wrap things up here. So, what terrifying thing was Peter talking about at the end of the episode? Stay tuned next week to find out.